It was a stupid dare. Those kinds of things always are. We were bored, hanging out at that usual spot. Someone, probably Tom, he always was the instigator, pointed out the old church in the distance, the one you could barely see through the trees. Everyone knew about it. The stories whispered around town since forever. Abandoned, supposedly haunted. The usual small town legends. Anyway, someone said something like, "Bet no one's been inside that place in decades," and boom, challenge accepted. Stupid, I know. I was younger then, more easily swayed by peer pressure. So we piled into my car, fueled by cheap beer and bravado, and drove down those winding back roads. Finding it wasn't too difficult. The dirt track leading to it was overgrown, but still traceable. We parked as far down as we could, then walked the rest, flashlights cutting weak beams through the twilight woods. Even before we saw it properly, you could feel it. The air just seemed to get colder, heavier as we approached. And the silence. It wasn't just the absence of sound. It was a thick, oppressive silence that felt like it was pushing against your eardrums. Then we were there. The trees broke, and it stood before us, against the fading light. Not grand or imposing, like you might imagine a church. It was small, squat, built from dark, moss-covered stone. The windows were mostly boarded up, some with rotting plywood, others just empty black holes staring out. The wooden door, at the front, was hanging off one hinge, half open like a broken jaw. At this point, nobody wanted to back down from the dare, not after coming this far. So, we pushed the door open wider. It groaned, a long, mournful sound that echoed in the silence, and stepped inside. The interior was even darker than we expected. Our flashlights were pathetic against the gloom. It took a moment for our eyes to adjust, to start picking out shapes in the shadows. Pews, mostly overturned, scattered like fallen dominoes. Torn hymnals and prayer books lay scattered on the floor, pages yellowed and brittle. Cobwebs hung everywhere, thick as macrame, catching dust motes in our flashlight beams. We moved further in. The floorboards creaked underfoot, each step echoing unnervingly loud in the vast space. The air was still, stagnant. There was no sense of life, no warmth, just cold, dead silence. It felt wrong. At first, it was just unsettling. The general vibe, the feeling of being somewhere forgotten, abandoned. But then we started finding things. Small things at first. A child's wooden doll, lying face down near the altar, its painted eyes staring blankly at the floor. A tarnished silver locket, open, but empty of any picture. A single leather glove, too small to be a man's, its fingers curled as if still grasping something. Each object, on its own, wasn't terrifying. Sad, maybe. But together, in that place, they started to create a sense of unease, a feeling that something wasn't right here, that something bad had happened. Further in, behind where the altar probably used to be, just a raised stone platform now, covered in dust, we found a small room. This was where things started to get weirder. On a table in the corner, there was a book, not a Bible. This was different, bound in thick, dark leather, with no title on the spine. It was old, the pages yellowed and stiff. I picked it up, carefully. The pages were filled with writing, but not in any language I recognized. Strange symbols, almost geometric, interspersed with what looked like drawings, crude sketches of figures, elongated and distorted, with unsettlingly large eyes. They were disturbing to look at, even in the dim light. I quickly put the book back down. It felt like I was holding something I shouldn't be. Something tainted. In the same room, we found more objects. A collection of small, smooth stones, arranged in a circle on the floor. Each stone was painted with a single, crude symbol. Circles, triangles, spirals. They looked ritualistic. Hanging on the wall, behind the door, almost hidden, was a piece of cloth. Black, heavy fabric, like velvet. It was torn and faded, and stained with something dark and dried. When I touched it, it felt cold, unnaturally cold. I recoiled my hand. By this point, the bravado was gone. The beer buzz had evaporated. We weren't laughing or joking anymore. We were just uneasy, quiet, listening to the creaks of the old building, the rustling leaves outside, and the pounding of our own hearts. Then Tom, who had been exploring near the back of the church, called out, his voice strained, telling us there was something we needed to come see. We went to where he was, near what looked like a door leading down, a trapdoor set into the floor, almost hidden by a loose rug. He'd managed to pry it open a crack. A gust of cold, even more stale air wafted up from below, carrying with it an even more intense version of that metallic, earthy smell, now mixed with something else. Hesitantly, we widened the opening. A narrow stone staircase descended into darkness. We shone our flashlights down, but the beam seemed to be swallowed by the blackness. It was just empty, cold, and silent down there. But there was a pull, a morbid curiosity, like something was calling us down. Against my better judgment, I started down the stairs. Tom followed, then the others. Each step down felt like descending deeper into something ancient and wrong. The air grew colder, damper. The smell became almost unbearable, thick and cloying, making my stomach churn. The stairs opened into a small underground space. A crypt, maybe? The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and something else, something sickly sweet and rotten. It was hard to breathe. Our flashlights danced across the walls, revealing rough-hewn stone, slick with moisture. There were alcoves carved into the walls, like burial niches, but they were all empty, except for one. In the center of the crypt, there was a stone altar, smaller than the one upstairs, but made of the same dark stone. And on the altar, there was something lying there, covered in a black cloth, the same kind of material as the hanging upstairs. Tom reached out, hesitant, and pulled back the cloth. What was underneath? I don't want to describe it in detail. It was a skull, not human, an animal, but distorted, with long, curved horns. The bone was yellowed and cracked, and in the empty eye sockets, something had been placed, 2 smooth, black stones, like the ones upstairs, but these seemed to gleam in the flashlight beam with an unnatural light. We stared at it, frozen. The smell in the crypt seemed to intensify, the silence to press in even harder. It felt like we were intruding on something sacred, or profane, like we had crossed a line we shouldn't have crossed. Then, from the shadows at the back of the crypt, something moved. We all jumped, turning our flashlights towards the movement. At first, we saw nothing but darkness. Then, shapes started to emerge. Figures, tall, cloaked figures, standing in the shadows. They were completely covered in dark robes, hooded, their faces hidden. We couldn't see their skin, their eyes, their hands. Just black shapes in the darkness. There were several of them, maybe 5 or 6, I couldn't be sure. They stood motionless, silent, just watching us. It wasn't their appearance that was the most terrifying. It was their stillness, their silence, their absolute lack of movement. It was like they were statues, except they weren't statues. You could feel it. They were alive. They were people. We didn't speak. We didn't move. We just stood there, bathed in the weak beams of our flashlights, staring at these things. They didn't make a sound. They didn't approach. They just stood there, shrouded in shadow, their presence radiating a cold, malevolent something, a weight, a pressure. Then, one of them shifted, just slightly, just a tilt of the head maybe, but it was enough. It broke the spell. Panic erupted. We turned and fled, tripped over each other, scrambling back towards the stairs. We didn't say a word, just scrambled, clawing our way back up, desperate to get out of that crypt, out of that church, out of that place. We burst out of the trapdoor, back into the main church, and ran. We didn't stop running until we were back in the car, doors locked, engine roaring to life. We drove away, fast, not looking back, not speaking, just getting away. We didn't talk about it much after that, not really. We just agreed to never go back, to pretend it hadn't happened. But it did happen. I know it did. I can still see those figures standing in the shadows, silent, watching. I can still smell that smell, feel that cold, suffocating silence. I don't know who they were or what they were doing there, and I don't want to know. Some things are better left buried, left in the darkness.